I was a social media manager for about 2 years before I started doing the whole online thing. I started my business as a consultant, so I was doing a lot of consulting, but also done video services. It all started really because I was doing a social media coordinator for a corporate company. We were managing student housing properties in about 7 states, 14 properties. I had a very large virtual team managing everything that was related to social media. So we were launching Facebook ad campaigns and really merging what was happening at the properties, their physical marketing, their traditional marketing with the online space. So it was really fun. It was like my dream job. It was awesome. I got hired before I even finished college, which was crazy because my background was in nutrition and dietetics and had nothing to do with marketing. But I really had a passion for social media, and so I loved it and it was awesome. But about 6 months in, I was like totally burnt out. I mean, I was working 60 hours, sometimes 70 a week. Plus I had clients on the side because the company was, I mean, they were amazing. They were like, yeah, you can have, clients. Awesome. I know that, I told them that the long term was I wanted to have my own business eventually. So they were totally cool with it. But it was just too much. It was a very high demanding job. And as much as I loved the people that I was working with, it was just like, I can't do this anymore. I really want to work with small businesses. We had literally about, I don't want to say a specific number, but we had multiple 7-figure marketing budget. So we were managing huge campaigns. But I always had a heart for like small businesses and helping the little guy who didn't have a lot of resources. So that's really how I got started. I decided to turn in my resignation letter, and the president of the company was like, hey, we want you to stay on board. We'll just become your first client, and you can just work from home. So that was amazing. I was very blessed in that sense. 2 years in, I was still working with them, and a bunch of other clients. Was partnered with the marketing agency, and I was working with everyone who would hire me. So lots of small businesses, from like roofing companies to hot tub retailers to authors and experts and bloggers, and in the financial space as well. So I worked with over 50 entrepreneurs for that first 2 years, probably a little bit more than that, from mid-sized corporations to really, really small businesses like the local mom and pop coffee shop. Cool. So it was really great, and I loved it. I got a lot of experience just working in the field and working with teams. I started noticing that the clients who were doing really well with their marketing campaigns already had an established funnel, right? A sales sequence, a journey. And so I found myself really building up a lot of the back end sort of customer journey for clients in order to make social media profitable, because I didn't want to be that kind of service provider that was just like, oh, I'll post, pretty Instagram pictures for you. It was like, I want them to get results, and I want to be able to track their sales and their revenue. And so I found myself doing a lot of that. So I was like, oh my gosh, how can I teach them how to set this whole system up so that they're profitable? And I knew, always like in the back of my mind, eventually I wanted to do online courses. And the majority of my business was run virtually, so I was still offering a lot of services, but I wasn't actually going into and talking to these business owners. I had clients, Puerto Rico and Mexico and Canada. So it was always virtual, but I was still managing the actual platforms for them. Okay. So late 2015, my husband was like, it's time. You need to launch a course. Like, this is crazy. You have 17 clients, and I know that you're burnt out, and you need to, really start pursuing what you're good at, which is teaching. So I decided to launch my first online product, and like most people, obsessed over it for like 3 months, like a crazy person, instead of just launching it and validating the idea. Right. Obsessed over it. Launched it with like a terrible strategy, had no idea what I was doing, got like 3 people to sign up, and I was like totally bummed. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a total failure, this isn't working. And so, I started learning more about online marketing and building an email list and all that good stuff. Fast forward actually started selling my course with SamCart because a friend referred me to it. Like, hey, you have to check out this new software. It's 2015. I was like, okay, cool. So I signed up, was using ActiveCampaign, but was having a lot of issues with the ActiveCampaign integration.
Okay.
So they weren't really working very nicely with my membership site. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Decided to go with Ontraport.
Okay.
Spent a lot of money with Ontraport for the first, I think, about 6 or 7 months. And I just never really understood the platform completely. And I consider myself pretty techy. So I hired consultants, spent a bunch of money doing that. It wasn't working. And I was like fed up. I was like, well, I still had clients on the side and still trying to launch my online business. Wasn't really generating much revenue at all, maybe like $2,000 a month from my online course. And that wasn't enough for me to feel like, okay, I can, let go of the majority of my clients. Right. So I was working with Ontraport and I was like, I can't, I'm spending $300 a month and it's just not working. Let me try SamCart again and switch over to ConvertKit and see how that goes. And at the time I was starting to listen a lot to Brian's podcast of 5-Minute Marketing. And I loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I need. I need to learn more about upsells and, really starting to figure out how I was going to really leverage the traffic that I was receiving. And so started learning a lot about that and switched over from SamCart. And I remember one day I was driving home and was listening to his podcast and he was talking about upsells and how important they were. And so I knew about upsells from Ryan Deiss. I kind of understood the concept, but I was like, I don't know if it's because I'm a girl and I'm all about emotions and I didn't want to stress people out with offering them multiple products. Right. I was like, oh, it's so salesy. I don't want to do that. Which was ridiculous. I don't know why I thought that, but had a lot of issues with it, a lot of resistance around the idea of selling someone a product after they purchase something from you, selling something else. Yeah. But he was so compelling in the podcast, and he was like, you need to have, more than one offer. So I was like, okay, I already have an intro offer, a small splinter product, the tripwire funnel. Let me just try having something else. And so put together a pre-sale order for a branding course. It's now called Zero to Branding, and didn't even create a sales page, just followed his 1-page formula thing. And I was like, okay, let's just try it out and see how it goes. Went really well. We got our first 40 beta testers, and I upsold them to a second, my bigger product, and it worked. And I was like, oh, I got my first upsell. I'm like, don't hate me. This is awesome. So it was really great. And then from there on, started growing the online course side of the business slowly but steadily. Started offering more upsells, playing with downsells, just experimenting a lot in terms of the platform. Fell in love with upsells. Now most of our funnels include upsells for sure. I absolutely loved it. I purchased one of his upsell templates and dug in. Video was absolutely horrible the first time we did it, but it worked somehow. And so after that, SamCart introduced the offer bumps in their checkout pages. Tried doing that, it was awesome. And so after a couple of months, I think that was in the summer, September of last year, we decided to launch a membership site. Okay. And now most of our revenue just comes in through tripwire funnels and upsells from an intro product to a membership. And so it's been awesome. I doubled my income, which was phenomenal. Now I only have about 2 clients that I still work with, making 6 figures, which was always a big kind of milestone for me. And so we're still working on it. We're excited about what's happening. We started running downsells this past week, consistently, more on like a strategic way of doing it, and it went really well. So I was always afraid, like per usual, okay, I have one upsell, but if I do 2 upsells, it's too much, so maybe I'll do a downsell. And it was like perfect. It worked out really, really well. So I'm super, super grateful for everything that I've learned. Not just the platform itself, so easy to set up, something that I could never accomplish with Entreport, which was just a nightmare in terms of setting up upsells and figuring out how I was going to make sure that my checkout pages were mobile friendly, and people just having issues with the entire checkout process was just not profitable at all. But not just the software, I love how you guys also teach us how to implement the strategies, and that's what really makes a difference in my business. Lots of split testing, not as much now, but specifically in the beginning, tested out tons of different designs to figure out what converted better for us, colors, buttons, all that good stuff. And yeah, it did make a difference. We saw about a 10% increase from one design to the other, just based on the overall product. And now I kind of stick to that one template that has worked for us, across the board. So we did that. I have tested, split tested different funnels just to see which upsell people kind of gravitate towards. We have a new one that we just started last week, and we're split testing that. But that's a feature that I absolutely love. And you know what's really, really helped us a lot is just the automatic, I don't know what it's called, like the dunning area.
Oh, yeah.
Where you guys send out automatic emails. That is so helpful, especially with having a membership site where I know every month a couple of payments are going to fail. That helps us so much, and it takes so much work out of like my team because they don't have to chase people around constantly. So that's been really helpful. I think we got about $1,200 so far in saved payments that we recovered via the platform. Your dashboard is beautiful, right? You can see like exactly how much money you're making. The live stream is super helpful. That is something I could never get on Entreport to work properly.
Okay.
They have reporting sections that are okay, and I don't mean to, hate on anyone, because I do think that they have a good platform, but it's not as good as it should be in terms of how much money you're generating. I would have to dig through report after report and then correlate that with my Stripe account to make sure that I knew how much money we were making. Right. I don't have to worry about that ever. Like I can go in there every single day from my mobile phone to my tablet and I check it multiple times to see, how the day is going. And then we can see, everything from like all the historical data from the first month when we joined back in June. So that's been extremely valuable for us. Just that alone is one of my favorite features. SamCart is, I would say, at least 50% responsible for doubling our revenue, for sure. So,
that's awesome.
Honestly, first of all, I wouldn't have had the confidence to actually set up upsells in a way that felt natural and authentic for me if I hadn't, listened to what Brian was saying, but used the platform as well and been involved in the actual Facebook group, which is super valuable as well. I go in there, I'm not super active, but I love going in there and kind of reading what people are kind of experimenting with. It's really encouraging. Sure. So definitely just the data alone and being able to have that information has helped me strategically figure out, okay, what are we going to do this month and how are we going to make sure that we have a funnel that works on autopilot. The optimization of the checkout page itself is huge. When I was using Entreport, I followed, because I was still listening to Brian's advice. I thought it was so great. So I was like, okay, let me see if we can figure out how much traffic we're actually generating to our checkout page, and what's that, what's the percentage of people who are actually converting.
Right.
So we put some Google Analytics code in there, and about only 15% of the people who were hitting the checkout page were actually purchasing.
Okay.
When we made the switch, we had 30 to 40%. So that alone increases our revenue significantly, especially now that we have recurring membership, which means that our lifetime value is way higher than if we were just doing a one-time purchase. So that is a very big, that's a very big feature for us and for our business. Honestly, I tell people all the time, like, if I had 3 tools that I could use and that would be it for my business, SamCart would definitely be number 1, because
Wow.
I mean, it's the lifeblood of my business. If I don't have a tool that's really helping us convert traffic, we don't have a business. I mean, it's that important.